Welcome from the break. This is the dialogue on Sol TV. My name is Prince Apollo. We continue to explore the preparations for the 2026 general elections as politicians and political parties are very busy preparing for the elections. But specifically, we're looking at the President's pledge, President Museveni's pledge to wipe out corruption in the next term as president, if he's given a chance. Looks it is going to be his campaign message, like he spoke during his expression of interest, and he will be nominated today. That's an event we are looking forward to. But again, we continue to look into a serious concern of goons who are now being introduced within camps of political parties and individuals. People are now busy recruiting young people, jobless people, and what makes it worse, these are the, I don't like using that word, but these are the riffraff of our society, people whose future has been stolen. And I think when they are dropped on the streets of Kampala, they look at everybody, all those people, as those who actually stole their future, and that's why they caused the chaos, beating up even the former CID director and robbing her family. Grace Akuro was also a victim of that clobbering. 30 youth were arraigned in court. They were wearing NRM t-shirts. Then the secretariat, through Dr. Tango Doi, the NRM leaders, I think I can quote Dr. Tango Doi. He said, "We don't know those people, but others in NRM confessed that these are our supporters." And Richard Baguma, we can ask, who are these people? In your opinion, who are these people?
Well, why should we speculate? They are there. Yeah, we are talking about people who are physically there. So I don't even know why we should speculate as to who they are. They were caught on the camera and then they are in custody. They appeared, I think.
I had some actually at the meeting that they were given 20,000, given yellow t-shirts and later abandoned.
Yeah, so for me, I have constraints speculating on people who exist. That this is somebody is here, they have picked him here, and then we are saying, oh, who are these, who are these? But it is the larger context that you were talking about. Ask him, who are you? He doesn't have an ID.
Let me read the messages.
Place of abode.
Let me read the messages.
Yeah, you just read the message, then I would then maybe react to it as well.
Mr. Apple, I love the submission of the lady in the studio. Maybe she's not a politician. If she's not, I urge her not to join. But the moment she joins this industry of routers, trust me, her submission will have to change, because our politicians are the agents of corruption, both in the ruling party and those in opposition. Abel Kera Kampumuza, he thinks you are an innocent.
Too good to be
a politician.
That is what we offer. That is what the National Unity Platform offers.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
But even the opposition have been implicated in cases of corruption. Corruption. Corruption is not limited to only.
I told you the mastermind of corruption. Once the system allows corruption to happen, it will happen. If you are driving and you're stopped by a traffic officer, before you think about the receipt of 200,000, 300,000 or thereabouts, you think about the 10,000 or 5,000 you can give them to let you go, because the system allows it.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Apollo. President Museveni is trying to use an umbrella during a rainy day. I may hope that is how do I call it?
It's just a figure of speech.
Yeah,
As
figurative.
as it is.
It's figurative. During a rainy day, yet shoes are leaking. We no longer have corruption in Uganda, but our leaders were promoted to the class of looting. So he can fight corruption, but not looting. I call upon the youth, please, let us Let us work hard and be satisfied with the little we have. Lastly, to politicians, stop feeding people to Museveni's rallies while telling them you'll give them money. I saw it in Bukedea. Stop blindfolding the judge with the numbers that are faded. RIP Jota. And this is James Nimbale, a Liverpool fan. I think that is what we are actually going to delve deep into. They fail trying to make an impression that they have numbers, and this cuts across. I wouldn't like us to only put it on President Museveni's camp, but all across the board. Hello Soul TV, this is Bumba Tom from Nakaloke, Entebbe Road, Mbale City. There is Entebbe Road in Mbale City. Thanks for the show. On corruption, the government that has overstayed in power has failed to fight corruption. I think they had to first fight it before doing anything. My view is every all government officials are corrupt, starting with the president. Why did he give MPs 100 million each? What was it for? If he wants to fight corruption, let him first arrest himself. Really? I don't think that. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. Waguma, you're laughing, but these are serious matters.
Very serious.
These are serious matters. Reverend, I'm looking for a message from Reverend. I saw it here. Reverend Jimmy Manyindo. Where is it? I think this is it. Sorry, I'm taking that, but let me hear from you as I look for that message.
But first, you see, Apollo, you had asked me about these guns. You see, why do you say that they are being introduced? Really? I think that is not a proper reflection of history. So what was Chiboko Squad?
Exactly.
If we say they are being introduced, what was Karangara action?
Of Kakoza Mutare.
So it is just focusing on a current actor, and people will jump on that one and focus on that one. Now a certain major general in police uniform will be focused on for now. But you see, this is not a new pattern. No, this is not a new pattern. This has been happening over the years when election comes. And you see, I don't know why we did not see the training, the practice in the Kawempe election. I think it was, we were all here, all the people were there.
It was a rehearsal.
Oh yeah, it was really. So we at least what I wanted to request was we don't say it is being introduced unless you say that the opposition now has taken that up and is also organizing their own groups to do the same. That probably the previous opposition did not have the mindset for that. General Muntu Chiza Vesige.
Yeah, but I know.
Of course, now NUP would have the mindset for that.
I know.
We'll have, you call them a gari, you call them people to protect our real, it is. Whether that is following on what is being done by the ones in power, and therefore the feeling of powerlessness, and then to do it, those are the other explanations. But what could be new is that you will have now the opposition also organizing its own groups to counter these ones.
I want to correct Mr. Waguma before he misleads our viewers. First of all, I want to empathize with the former CID boss, Miss Grace Akulo. But also, I do not say that it's a good thing that it happened to her. But when someone is in the system, you see, if we speak these things in terms of numbers and statistics, people don't actually appreciate what they are. If you say 10 people have been killed when none of the people is your relative or someone that you know personally or closely, you don't appreciate the intensity of the matter. But this having happened to Miss Grace Akulo and her family, now we have an insider, someone who was part of the system, actually experience what it feels like.
But is she an insider?
No, well, she's someone who was part of the system. Now, you remember the Honorable Irene Muyagonja when she was eulogizing her husband, her fallen husband, in Raga Cathedral here. She spoke about the dire state of the healthcare system in Uganda because she experienced Mulago Hospital firsthand, and her husband passed on from such a very quack system. May his soul rest in peace. Now, when someone who has authority experiences this, then they can perhaps they can now light a torch on the failures of the system and cast a ray of light on them for their fellows to see them. Because we speak about these things in terms of numbers, and this one has been killed, and this one has maybe lost a life, or things like that. But when Ms. Muyagonya called this a monument, Mulago Hospital a monument, it is actually what it is. Because as we said, by Uganda build Uganda, when the children or relatives of actually the big people themselves fall sick, they fly to Germany and the US and the UK. But when they feel this from within their country, then we know that perhaps this message is going. Now, the people who terrorized Miss Grace Akulo and the people of Kampala and even killed a lady were NRM goons. At least they were goons donning NRM t-shirts. You see, when I told you General Museveni is the mastermind of corruption, I was not lying. NRM is actually the mastermind of violence. It is not true that the opposition are preparing, goons, and because in any case, are we going to arm anyone?
Nakandi doesn't know what is happening in NUP.
Yeah, it has been a practice
that she doesn't know how they even select her or not. They put their papers and go.
Okay, let me tell you.
She doesn't know what's happening intended. Nothing.
Okay, Mr. Baguma here was speaking about the Kalanga Action Plan.
Yeah,
we saw Chiboko Squad in 2005 as we were organizing for 2006 elections. Chiboko Squad were armed with at least Chiboko. This was almost a formal, system within the government structure. At the moment, just like you see now ONC and NAMIA dishing out, goodies, giving out money and so many items, but not part of a government structure, but spending taxpayers' money. In 2015 and the years preceding that, we saw a wake of crime preventers, young people armed.
But at least that was a formal group.
A formal where? Falling under
crime
what?
Preventers were under police.
Was it a formal structure? Where are they now? Where are they now?
I think it was disbanded.
We have formal structures.
Some of them were absorbed.
We have CMI, we have criminal intelligence, or rather crime intelligence. We have, they are formal security agencies. Crime preventers were not, but they were armed.
Under Kaihura.
Under the IGP then, General Kihura. In the wake of the 2021 election, we were just talking about the riots of November 18th and 19th of 2020 that saw almost an unprecedented level of shootouts on non-violent Ugandans. You see, protesting is a right. Ugandans were protesting the arrest of His Excellency Kyagulanyi in Luka. But security agencies,
but they had turned into riots, not just protests.
Okay, you start protesting peacefully, and then security comes and engages you. And then people now get they now get self-defensive. But these were not armed people, but they were killed. These groups of
they were not violent.
These groups of
those people are not violent.
Unfortunately, are many times led by ghetto youth, fellow ghetto youth.
I don't want you, Winfred, to assume that it's only on the side of government, because you know very well that even NUP has, I think they are called foot soldiers, and majorly these are actually jobless youth. Wait a minute.
When have foot soldiers caused violence?
These are jobless youth who are actually expecting either
We see foot soldiers every day.
and what comes out is what you call a gali.
Apollo.
They end up looting.
Now I will tell you what a gali is, because I am in the National Unity Platform and I know exactly what a gali is. We see foot soldiers every day. You may see them on the street, many times donning red coveralls and perhaps berets. When have you seen foot soldiers cause violence? When have you seen foot soldiers come and loot people's property? When have you seen a bunch of, foot soldiers putting on red berets and red coveralls?
Yeah, but we have heard of
violence?
incidents where people have been, robbed after a gali goes through an area.
A gali is a collection of people with similar thoughts, with similar ideology, ganging up to protect each other from uncalled for violence from different, security agencies. What happened in Kawempe, for example?
Yeah.
There were incidences where we were about to experience broad day ballot thuggery. But because of a girl is not necessarily foot soldiers. Even women, you can find
I
women.
don't understand a gali, at least
You people actually misunderstand a girl. You can find a group of women, let's say young ladies, but a group that shares ideology, shares principle, shares values, and they are resisting oppression. They are standing up in the face of oppression and saying, no, we cannot accept this. We are being each other's keeper.
Okay. But what you have to appreciate, Nakandi, is that politicians is actually recruiting goons, I will insist on that, goons, in the name of protecting their votes. And these are the people actually here in Kampala. I know politicians here in Kampala who have goons around the time of election. They beat up people. They do everything to protect the
and
interests
now I want
of
to
the
reiterate the
politicians.
message. I want to reiterate the message of our president, Honorable Chagulanyi. In that line, because these people who are recruited come from within the community.
Yeah.
Maybe brainwashed or simply manipulated into being unscrupulous members of the community. The people who are recruiting you now, because I'm going to tell you that because I know people that have been recruited by the system,
yes,
by NRM players,
but also other politicians.
I am an opposition member. I have not seen violent people at least in NUP. I have not seen.
Are you sure about that?
I have not seen groups of people causing violence in NUP, especially foot soldiers. I have not seen any.
Okay.
Now, the young people.
Then we have a problem now of sight.
The young people who are being recruited to unleash violence and terror on their fellow ghetto youth, actually, it's just a straightforward thing. Their fate is being doomed. I mean, their fate is what? I mean,
all right.
It cannot.
Let me read this message.
It cannot end well.
Yeah,
I'll
it will
give
end
an
in
example.
tears. Let me read this message from Reverend Manyindo, and then we delve deep into that issue in the few minutes we are left with. Bwana Polo, I am an old man, and I have been here for the rest of my life. I have heard many people talk about corruption and playing blame games. I remember Mr. Agostino Zindana, the first IGG on Radio Uganda then, saying that corruption is sin like all other sins you know. And he said that corruption as a sin is brought about by Satan, and that it can only be wiped up when Satan is arrested and tied up. But as long as Satan lives, corruption will be here. Let us all repent and get saved, and then there will be no corruption. Because even those who are shouting and are corrupt themselves, just because they have not seen or they haven't seized the opportunity. Reverend Jimmy Manyindo in Fort Portal. Thank you so much, Reverend. And it's a good message for people to repent. But we have examples of countries where corruption levels are so low. Anyway, we are not so sure whether they are all. I think it is. Anyway, I can't qualify the statement. Can you help me, Richard?
No, you see that they are all saved. Let me tell you, they are all saved. That's why the corruption levels are low. I am careful not to go there. You see, we must accept, I think, that if we are going to contribute to improving the country,
Yeah.
we have to see wrong on all sides.
Yeah, true.
Because I was able to talk about the groups that have been causing violence. If in the riots you don't see people putting in yellow being beaten, if you have not seen that, if in the riots you don't see people looking in a certain way being attacked because of their looks,
Of their-
ethnic assumptions,
Yeah.
then I think you
The
need
size
to,
of their nose or
then
the
I
shape.
think you need to look better. You need to look a little bit more. These things are happening. They are recorded. The videos run. So violence is not monopolized by one group.
The yellow group.
It is not. And I think
Even the red group.
we have to condemn it
Okay.
from whichever side it comes. I think that's one important. The second thing is that violence also comes from the rhetoric. We need to be the hate speech, the glorification of violence, if it is committed against those whom we don't agree with,
Yeah.
the inflammation that we promote. I think we have to be a little bit more open and honest about this. And this thing that you see those people's lives are cooked. We have seen during these riots and these readings, there is no one who is spared.
Yeah.
There is no one who is safe. So we can't assume that because for us we belong to this group, we are safe.
Because we are NRM, we support President Museveni.
Nothing. It doesn't happen like that. So it behoves upon all of us to really look at this. The impoverishment, the lack of opportunity for young people, we render them vulnerable to be recruited for whatever cause, however evil that cause is. Yes, we are not going to run away from that. We must recognize that it's not possible that President Museveni is going to cede power and just walk away. No. There has to be a combined push for that. It happens internally. Chiwanuka will come to contest. He might be chased and we laugh, but Chiwanuka has come to contest and has created another question about how can you have only one set of forms? How can you have one set of forms for nomination forms?
As if the Electoral Commission were prepared
Yes.
that they will only have one
candidate.
contestant.
Yes. So won't you alienate those ones from yourself to go and have a protest vote? And you recruiting protest vote for
NUP.
For NUP. Yeah. So I think it is important, Apollo, to do this. However, to assume that violence and corruption will go away by themselves.
It's not possible.
No.
Let me read the comments as we move on. Hello, Soul TV. I am Nagira William from Nakaloke, Entebbe, Mbale City. Corruption has destroyed our country. Look at the police here in Nakaloke. My brother's son was killed by his judge, but when my brother tried to ask them what killed our son, they just ran to Nakaloke police station and they said they were beaten, which was not true, and they paid the OC some money. I can't substantiate these allegations, but I think he explains how corruption is deeply entrenched even in the community and society. This is Pastor Isaac from Bitereko. Bitereko is Shema?
Well, I am not sure because villages have same names all around.
All around. Thanks for the show. We are here in Mitoma. Oh yeah, Mitoma, enjoying the show on big screen at church. May God bless you. Thank you so much for watching and following. He says, Mr. Apollo, thanks for serving the nation. Corruption in Uganda has become a chronic disease. Why? Because the government is the implementer of corruption. I advise we first have a new constitution of the Republic of Uganda. No government institution is independent. We need to recognize the systems first. If not, we are just in talk. Take it or leave it. This is Deo Nakauka Road. Let Ugandans be responsible first. Thank you so much, Deo, for the comment, and thank you for watching. Politics of Uganda is all about mind playing. The president plays with citizens' minds just to gain votes. He can't fight corruption. I am Professor Andrew. Okay, Professor, that is your opinion. And we can now come back to the studio and we'll read the comments later as we conclude this show. Comrade Werihe, looking at how Richard refreshed our minds on the gangs that have been formed closer to elections. The Kalanga Action Plan, the Chiboko Squad, they usually actually use it to come out of police, of CPs, the Chiboko Squad. Then later, I think there are other groups.
Border 2010.
Border 2010.
Yes.
There are other groups that were formed. Do you find something different? This one, do you find in this recent case? Do you find anything different from what happened before? And should people be concerned? And finally, from me, the arraignment of these goons. At least we saw them arraigned in court, and they are now on remand. What does that speak to you?
Okay. Now let me start with a comparison between this particular case and the previous one. The ones that Richard talked about before seemed to be institutionalized at the time. You know why I'm saying that they were institutionalized? Because like Kalanga Action Plan used to have the buses, and some of the people within the buses used to wear military uniform, and then they just put on the yellow T-shirts and carry guns. At least
they even had an office along Bombo Road.
Yes, they had the buses, they had the vehicles, and they used to move the whole country with their sticks and guns in the buses. At least I saw one person shot in Tororo the day President Museveni went for a rally in 2001 and 2006, and that gentleman survived because the bullet entered the chest. The person who shot came from that yellow bus. So those we saw, they used to operate along security. The Chibok squad also used to come from CPS, and we used to see pickups actually of sticks being offloaded at CPS. And that's where they would emerge from and begin beating demonstrators. And then we would have chaos in the whole town. Now, the NUP case in 2020, the reaction of the foot soldiers when Bobby Wine was arrested in Luuka was violent. Of course, they were protesting because their leader had been arrested, but me, who was caught in between around the Chinawataka, like I said, those boys were very, very rough. They were very, very rough, and the military became also very rough on them, and that is why we ended up losing those lives. But usually,
wait a minute.
Violence.
Are you not mixing two things?
Yes.
The other one was a protest, but we are talking about people who are actually recruited for a certain cause.
I'm building my point because you told me to compare first.
Okay.
So I was comparing. This one in 2020 was a spontaneous reaction to the arrest of Bobby Wine. Now coming to, so what do I conclude after seeing the previous one? I think it used to be a modus operandi for the ruling government to have some civilians recruited who are also goons, because if you are not a goon, if I'm not a goon, why should I go and collect a stick and begin beating anyone I find on Kampala Road? So I think they used to think they monopolized the violence. So in 2020, when they saw because Bobby Wine's support was so huge in the ghettos and so forth, so the state faced the wrath also of these young men and women. And by nature, how they have been dressing, and I think they became kind of a threat to the state. So as a reactionary measure, there have been efforts, particularly by the Directorate of Crime Intelligence, led by now Major General Damulida. They have been in the ghettos, especially Kisenya and others, trying to recruit young men. Some of their meetings have been broadcast on TVs.
Yeah.
Of course, he tells them leave crime and do this, become responsible for this. But in the process, he's also mixing in the politics, saying that he can overnight turn these people from probably criminality, make them NRM, and they support the what? The government. And yet, the moment you mix security and politicization of security, that is the beginning of failure. Because we saw it. General Kaihura started well. He invested so much in community policing. He went into putting small posts in the neighborhood. He started recruiting crime intelligence. Mayumba Kumi. But the more he became more political and partisan, the more crime rate started going up. And his own security started turning against the people. It didn't matter whether these people were part of the system or not. We all became endangered. So now these young men from who have been recruited in the ghetto, it is possible there may be two objectives. One, that let's recruit them, they join the party, and then we use them to counter the foot soldiers. Or also, of course, in the process, you'll be trying to fight crime by removing them from that. But again, where you are deploying them to counter the other one can be counterproductive. Yeah. Because like I said, some of the strategies I've been seeing, where crime intelligence goes, there is also Namial office of the chairman, cooking oil, mattresses, and so forth. So are you sure that if you give these people mattresses without, in China they have a very good program called re-education for reform. Instead of arresting those goons and taking them to Luzira, bring them out and they beat people again, they take you through an education. You are in jail, but they're educating you every day. They are subjecting you to, by the time you leave, the mind is different, and probably you can settle down and go and do something else. So, to conclude, please. Now we have another form of violence. Look at areas where NRM is strong. Zimbabwe, are there foot soldiers?
But
no,
violence.
But you saw young people, or both sides wearing yellow, almost killing each other. A person died. Yes. Today I received in my inbox a video from the Honorable Balam. You know?
Barugahara.
Yes, he was in, I think, a place called Madibiri in Busia. So he addressed a huge rally campaigning for the president. But now two candidates who are there, the Minister Mulimba had a group that he mobilized and pushed to move around the venue, and another group was mobilized by his opponent. All of them are wearing yellow. All of them have President Museveni's pictures. By the end of the day, the whole town area was immense.
My question is,
NRM, youth beating NRM, and one boy died, lost his life, by the way, was stabbed.
My question is, after comparing what it was before and what we see now,
yes,
do you are you also concerned that this could be the 2026 could turn violent, or it is business as usual as we had the 2016, 2011, and
no, don't say it could turn violent. It is already violent.
No, I'm talking about this with this new. I mean, this vigor from these young ghetto youth.
Well, we still have time, and this is the time when actors can actually come together. This is the reason why we have this dialogue and so forth. The actors in the electoral process, civil society, government, electoral commission, security forces need to come together, and we need a common message on fighting electoral violence. But if we don't do that, looking at what happened in Richard usually calls in Kawempe, he calls it a practice.
Rehearsal.
Looking at the practice, the rehearsal that happened in Kawempe, where we saw goons running behind the soldiers, and when they are chased, they go and hide behind the members. So this could happen, and it's going to be very, very dangerous and impact this country very negatively.
One comment on arraigning them in court, does that, give confidence that NRM doesn't tolerate criminality within its political settings?
It depends on the definition of criminality, because we have convicts who are being nominated at convicts in offices over corruption, former cows. They are at the tent in Chadondo being nominated. We never track the record of criminality when we are nominating. Even when our law says you shouldn't have a criminal record, do we vet them in the crime? They will go to parliament and commit crimes. So there is some tolerance, but also we have arrested, I think, how many goons? There were 30.
More than 30.
Are they the only ones? Because I know that I was describing to you Naguru, where I went. I have described so many other places here in Kampala. I think let's watch the space.
Thank you. Nakandi, a comment on what you think the 2026 election will be like with these developments coming up. You people, actually, you are in the race, and you never know what may happen. You may not have goons in your camp, or you may not be intending to conscript goons into your camp, but your rival may have them, and they may cause chaos.
The NRM government has already shown us the extent to which, and I know definitely it can go further, the extent to which it can unleash terror on its own citizens. Like Mr. Waguma here says, Kawempe was a rehearsal. We definitely expect that, as the case has been in the previous electoral cycles, it is in this government where we have seen Kalangal Action Plan, like you said, Chiboko Squad, Bodaboda 2010, Crime Preventers. All of those have been systems, like Dr. Anzalahia was saying, they actually were institutionalized. It was institutionalized violence. We know for sure that just like they have shown us, we know that they will unleash terror on us, but we are ready for it. That's why President Chagulanyi tells us.
Ready in which way? You also recruiting?
No, we are not armed. We are not armed. Even if, you see, I told you, even there is political recruitment, even for support, for example. So how about recruiting people to just organize themselves to oppose oppression? In any case, we are recruiting people to support Honorable His Excellency Chagulanyi massively and vote him into power. So recruitment is not criminal. We're not doing criminal recruitment, but we are recruiting people to organize themselves and oppose this sheer opposition, rather this sheer oppression. Now, you see, the issue of goons. I was telling you that His Excellency Chagulanyi has warned the ghetto youth, especially those who are being used, who are being recruited recruited into crime, really. It never ends well. Their end is always imminent. We also Sobi.
Yeah.
Sobi was on TV, confessing how he's the head of the Chifesi and what they can do and what they can go away with. How did he end?
He died.
He was killed like a rat,
death.
We also Zebra Mando. It was actually General Museveni who said, Zebra, my men killed him. There is a young man that I knew personally here in Kawempe that has just been killed recently. He was a muscular man who was picked and recruited into the ghetto structure. He was, those guys that were, saying, you see, now we are part of the system, we are now NRM. That ghetto structure that Dr. Wanzala here has been speaking about, the people that actually are, recruited and promised maybe their lives would change, or they have now to support the NRM and things like that. I don't know what kind of training they go through. I don't know what kind of indoctrination they get, but they are made to believe that they are now part of the system and they can do whatever and go away with it. Yeah. That young man was killed as when he had been hired to protect land from land grabbers. was killed by security.
Same way Sobi
Gunned
died.
down, you know. Same way Sobi died. So it never ends well. In a system that does not work, in a system that is dysfunctional, no one is safe.
I hope you're also speaking about your fellow members of opposition who also hire goons and
Apollo, truthfully, Apollo. You see, I'm not saying this because I'm an NUP, sincerely. And I don't know why Mr. Baguma here,
but I told you,
Is skeptical.
thinks is skeptical. Let me tell you.
it was my word.
Yes.
I said I know of politicians here in Kampala who recruit goons
Mr.
during election period. I know them.
What
for
I
sure.
have seen. Okay.
And
yes, you know
opposition
them.
members, even opposition members of parliament, here in Kampala.
Yeah, but what I'll tell you, for example, especially regarding foot soldiers, our foot soldiers are full of discipline. One thing that you can never really blame on foot soldiers is indiscipline.
Okay, I'm not talking
And
about
our
foot
president
soldiers.
always,
'Cause I don't know-
our president
I don't know
always
foot
speaks to
soldiers
them
anyway.
before they set off, maybe for a rally or for,
They brief them.
or for a procession. They always brief them on how to, how not to engage. Because security definitely always provokes us. But foot soldiers always keep discipline. They maintain order, even when police fail to maintain order. Now, Apollo, before we leave that particular point, NRM, like I told you, they're the mastermind of violence. That is why you see most intra-party violence happening in NRM. I don't know if you've seen intra-party violence in NUP.
Like in Zimbabwe,
Like in Zimbabwe. Just recently, the East Njiro district chairman was warning people against violence because it is
Njiro has always
definitely marrying these NRM primaries are always mad with violence.
that's true.
Everywhere, even the recently concluded NRM structure elections, even here in Kampala, they were mad with violence.
Okay, let me hear from Richard. Richard,
Yeah,
Winifred seems to...
No. How can there be violence in NUP when there's an election? How can you have a functional system which doesn't even allow a party AGM, what do you call the annual general meeting of
Delegates conference.
that you cannot even have a delegates conference? How can you have any functionality when candidates are handpicked? So there can be no violence. How can Nakandi's supporters be violent against the others? They have not campaigned. They are just waiting for somebody from Kavuri to just say, we like you more than we like the other one.
But she says...
And you talk about democracy, and you talk about functionality of systems. Which ones?
But she alleges that it is
Nakandi
wait a minute.
Nakandi
That
here
it is part
has
of
no forum for
NRM's...
explaining her capabilities. She writes an application and waits like a child going to school.
Yeah, but
At least for some public service jobs, they interview you.
Baguma,
Please.
I want you to respond. I want you to
And we are
respond.
supposed to get that group and entrust it with our
I
democracy.
want you to respond to her allegation that NRM are the masters of violence, and she actually attributes the recent case
Just allow them.
to
Allow them to have
the
contestation.
work methods of NRM.
Just allow them to have some contestation. Then you will see the masters of violence.
Hey.
Yes. There's nothing there. Please.
Can we wind up, Richard? Because like we said,
I feel
people are concerned.
Yeah, I am more concerned that a group that does not allow any iota of internal contestation and debate and to have a good Nakandi present herself. Please write your papers and bring them. Am I a primary school child? And you want me to trust those?
No, but
with
different political formations have their systems.
Yes, but for me, I'm contesting that system.
That is internal democracy.
I'm saying that system is dark, is not transparent, is not even translucent. It is opaque.
Okay.
And you want us to trust it with our public resources, public governance, public authority? No.
Don't we trust
you.
the Vatican?
Finally,
Conclave.
With the public,
The conclave.
that's why the Vatican was thrown out of any public power.
Finally from you, Richard. Finally from you, Richard.
But also, Apollo,
Wait a minute. How can we deal now with this violence?
Which one?
This violence now we expect with
How do you vote?
with the 20. Wait a minute.
How do you vote?
No. I'm
Do you
looking
know
at
that one of the most important things that people don't understand is a ballot? Do you know how ballots Do you see how politicians scamper? Even the current most supposedly powerful ones. Do you see how they scamper when they know they are going to lose in that area? They start changing things, they improve things, they do roads very quickly, they bring money to youths. People must understand that ballot.
All right.
Save them.
As we wind up, just a parting shot from you, Doctor. How can we now avert the looming violence as people recruit gangs and squads as we head into 2026?
One, we have the actors. The actors are known. They know violence may seem to originate from the NRM, but we also saw like the contestations in the FDC between Dr. Kiza Besigye and Nandala Mafabi and the fight at Najana Nkumbi. So
There were goons there.
yeah, so actors on all sides are capable of causing violence. But there should be a drive, you know, averting electoral violence. However, my fear is there are those who assume that they have more leverage over violence because they are also supported by
Because they have the support of the Major.
coercive state institutions.
Which are violent institutions.
Exactly, violent institutions. So these days, like Richard hinted on it, DPCs, when they see opposition people, a procession, they will not question whether they will even brand it illegal even when you have you have informed them. They no longer regard the laws as important as long as they want to be seen to be serious about it. So the violence can come in any forms. Now, what we need is commitment from all the actors. Actually, we need to sit together.
Yeah.
But now, the way you are seeing, who is going to sit? That's my fear.
Your parting shot, how can we avert this catastrophic consequence that may come out of the gangs?
I'll start by reminding Ugandans that since we all know that fish rots from the head, and we've all agreed that corruption is still here because there is no political goodwill to end it, the violence in NRM, which has now definitely, become violence in the country, especially during political campaigns, is here because the NRM has created such institutions. Whenever we have a political campaign coming up, the easiest way to end this is to vote General Museveni out of power, voting His Excellency Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, who has been a victim of this violence and definitely knows what it means to lose supporters on a regular basis.
All right.
To lose supporters, for people to lose their lives simply because they support him, for people to be abducted simply because they identify with him, for mothers to lose their children simply because they have been on processions with him. He will definitely end this violence when
Richard.
he is president.
Richard.
Where I'm seated. The last time my namesake was seated here,
Barnabas.
He was abducted. And is it because he's supporting Kyagulanyi? I think we need to go beyond our prisms of analysis. I think that violence begets violence. Violence is subdued by violence. And I don't know how much we are prepared to fight back. We must be prepared to fight back.
Sure.
It is going to be, it is ferocious. And it is ferocious and utopian to think that blood will not be shed in pushing back. And those who organize to push back will be criminalized because the current people in power were criminals, until they came and made decree number 1 in 1986. And this is how it works. That is how the world is. I keep telling you, Apollo, that you cannot be a king unless you subdue all the other people around and they agree to your kingship. So now the current subduing is supposed to be by ballot, but that ballot is being subverted, including in constituencies.
Our time is up. Thank you so much, Richard. And Richard is a veteran journalist, but also now a political commentator, strong advocate for road safety and healthy living. Dr. Gerard Werewanzala, a public policy researcher, but also an associate lecturer at Uganda Management Institute. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Were. Thank you so much, Madam Nakandi Winfred.
By the way, wish her luck.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And,
It's okay to sit next to an honorable.
she's a woman, a hopeful woman member of parliament for Kampala district. And to you, our viewers, salutations. And thank you so much for being part of this discussion. Until next Saturday, God bless you. God bless Uganda.